What is up, bros? Josh here, and today's video is all about the USS Alaska, the Tier 9 USN cruiser or battle cruiser that is still work in progress, although I do think that we are seeing pretty much a finalized version of this ship. We are kind of seeing some small tweaks here and there from the latest version to this version, which was raising of the citadel, which was really kind of needed and kind of just makes the survivability a little less on this ship, but overall it was something that was just way too strong. It made the ship was way too tanky when it basically couldn't get citadeled. So now it's a bit more mortal, but still a pretty good overall cruiser. A couple elephants in the room. One, before anybody asks in the comments, I still have no idea how this is going to be available. My guess is it would be coal or free XP. I don't know which one. The one of the ships that we're going to compare it to, obviously the other battle cruiser at this tier is the Kronstadt. People have asked me a million times on the streams and said, hey, what should I get, the Kronstadt or wait for the Alaska? So whenever I do, or whenever someone does ask me that question, we have some certains that the Kronstadt is leaving, as well as the Musashi from the arsenal, so you do have a limited amount of time to get those two ships. So if you're kind of like me and a collector, and you can only you're only going to have enough, are you going to save up for the Alaska or buy the Kronstadt now? I would get the Kronstadt because you know that's leaving an 8.0 as well as the Musashi, and we still don't know how the Alaska is going to be sold. My guess is going to be coal or free XP, and I think Wargaming is going to kind of want to get away from the free XP towards more coal. So we'll kind of see, but again, the for certain thing we have is that the Kronstadt is leaving, and then the Alaska, we are unsure how it will be sold. So diving into the stats of the Alaska, 60,800 HP, which is pretty dang good at this tier, by far the highest of any of the USN cruisers, and other than the Kronstadt, which is the other battle cruiser at this tier, that's going to be the only one that has a bit higher. So 71,000, you have about 11,000, about 10,000 more than the Alaska, so that is something to keep in mind when going. The armor overall is all right, but the 27mm, you're not going to really be bouncing any major battleship shells. 27mm, it did see to get I did kind of notice getting tore up by some HE when it came to this, so you do have to be kind of careful and using not only your detectability but as well as your speed to get out of situations. Before it could get citadeled, or basically couldn't get citadeled, you could really get in there and get aggressive, although this ship is a really good example of being able to use its health pool, and you'll see in the game footage of how we kind of just do an epic push and kind of win the game for our team. And really the Alaska is kind of the only kind of ship that can really do it at this tier. I mean, I guess technically in the Kronstadt you can, but the Alaska, to me, I enjoy the movement of the ship a lot more than, let's say, like the Kronstadt. So I really kind of like that style of this ship. So artillery, 305mm, is kind of a unique size to its guns, and the 3 sets of 3, so 9 shells going out, and that is at every 17.6 seconds. That's because of the module at 19-kilometer range. Secondary builds aren't going to be worth anything. They usually aren't on USN cruisers or cruisers in general, so secondaries are there though. AA, it is USN, so a decent rating here, but with only a range of 6 kilometers. Now it's 6 kilometers because of the modules we run, so we get there in a second. 33 knots, so comparing that to the Kronstadt, it's just a tad slower than the Kronstadt. Kronstadt with 840-meter turning radius, 11, almost 12 seconds on the rudder shift. So the Alaska is a little bit more agile, which I was talking about just a second ago. 11.9 kilometer detectability, that is with the concealment expert captain and the module for concealment. Obviously going to be higher since you are a bigger ship than basically almost all the other tier 9s besides the Kronstadt. You are a bigger ship. It kind of looks like a very small battleship, or a pocket battleship as they were called. So you know, compared to other cruisers, you're going to be much less stealthy. Obviously the Seattle doesn't have a captain in it, but kind of in the Donskoy area right there, if you've ever played that, that's kind of your detectability. So even though you are a bigger ship with these bigger shells, still lower than some, but higher than the other USN lines. Also, the guns are going to be a little interesting. It took me a while to get used to this ship when playing it. But if you've played the Buffalo or you've played the Seattle, it's going to have the exact same arc on both AP and HE. So a kind of lofty USN shell compared to, let's say, like the Rune or even the other Kronstadt, which was a much lower trajectory. If you've played either of the Buffalo or the Seattle, that trajectory is what you're going to get with this, which kind of makes this a weird ship when you actually play it. Modules, going into that really fast, and then we'll jump into some game footage. Obviously, we're going to run all the premium consumables, and for this, I'm running defensive fire AA. I think this is pretty needed. Hydroacoustic you can get into situations where you're going to push with this ship, and you'll see that in the video as well. But defensive fire is just fantastic. You're going to want that, and you can really get picked on with AP bombs with this ship. Luckily, we didn't go against it, but it's nice to have this pocket, you know, ace in the sleeve of just being able to protect yourself. And also when you're playing a work in progress ship, you tend to get focused a bit, especially by CVs. So it's nice to have that. Obviously, we're taking radar. There is, I mean, we'll probably see spotter playing Alaskas, who knows, lol, the new meme. And then, of course, the premium heals. When you're taking modules, this is what I ran, so run off your playstyle as well. Protecting the main turrets, this is how you're going to be doing your damage, so surely keep those as safe as possible. I took the extra radar, but if you wanted to, you could take the, I mean, even if you want to go defensive fire, if you have any of these unique ones, but if you don't have any of those or the coal to purchase them, you can buy the damage control system. So a longer radar is fantastic on really any radar cruiser that you can afford that. Aiming system mod 1. Now this is what I was talking about with the AA range only being 6. You could bump it out to 7.2 with that, but the dispersion on this ship could be a little wonky, and you just want to make those shells count as much as you can when basically getting into situations. So I took aiming system mod 1 instead of AA. If you're running maybe with a CV, or you know you're seeing lots of CVs and Qs, you could definitely switch that out and definitely bump up the AA range up to 7.2. But wasn't really seeing it. 6 seemed to be enough for me, and I wanted my guns. I definitely did notice aiming system. For me, steering gears was what I wanted. Pretty big ship, and you don't want to have, I mean, you only have 13% torpedo protection. So getting in there, especially being a radar ship, being a little bit more aggressive, you want to be able to avoid as much as you can. Concealment right here, pretty basic. You're a cruiser. And then obviously the main battery mod 3 at the end. Now it does give you the option to go for range with the base 19-kilometer range. You're not really going to need 16% more. So main battery, and that gets us down to that 17.6. So also with the captain, John Doe Halsey, this is going to be a ship because of it's a battle cruiser, and this is where we're really seeing the highlight and putting basically like a premium on these captains that have a buffed expert loader. So going into this build, we did take both of these. You could have also picked up Halsey, which also has the buffed expert loader. These are going to be fantastic. So shaving off 75%, you can switch in what, 3 or 4 seconds when it comes to it. So really, really, really good, but a pretty overall basic cruiser build. You could go a bit more into some survivability stuff if you really wanted to, but you have a pretty low detection for a ship this size. You can get in and out of fights if you need to and recoup some health. But overall, just pretty basic. Priority target. Well, obviously, if you are going to do this, I would do expert loader first. You do want to have that because that long reload, and you will be using both ammos all the time. This is a ship that takes a little while to get used to because you expect something to happen, but it doesn't really happen all the time. So definitely expert loader first. Expert marksmanship, since it is buffed, I am going to definitely grab it. We're going to get the extra radar and the heal and the AA, so superintendent. Then obviously concealment first. AFT is just nice to have, especially if you're playing ships a little early like I was. You want to be able to protect yourself from those sneaky CVs. And then once we get our next points, we'll grab Adrenaline Rush. Preventive maintenance is fantastic too, but we'll have an awkward random point. So I don't know if we'll grab Jack of all trades or something, since there are some more consumables. But preventive maintenance is also pretty nice as well. So there's a different build. I mean, you could go a super AA build, but I mean, really only if you're seeing lots of CVs. Demo expert, I mean, it's nice. 2% is nice, but I just don't think it's worth the 3 points. But definitely going to get Adrenaline Rush because that's just amazing at all times. And then kind of whatever you really feel. So this is my build right now with just a basic 15 point. And then once we get obviously one more, Adrenaline Rush, then maybe Jack of all trades or preventive maintenance and maybe incoming fire alert. I'm not sure. Anyways, let's dive into some gameplay. And we had a pretty epic game with the Alaska. And thanks to actually a cyclone, usually I hate cyclones, we're able to really kind of make a comeback and have an exciting game for you to hopefully watch. So here we are in game with the Alaska, and this is seriously a ship that's taken me a while to get used to. And one of the main things is I wouldn't quite call it false advertising, but the big shells that you actually have on the ship of the 305s, those mixed with the weird kind of trajectory of kind of a loopier shell. Normally, you're kind of seeing a bigger shell being pretty flat. Then obviously when you play the cron set, it's kind of the same way. Very, very fast trajectory, very low arc. This has a weird kind of mix of high shell, low speed when you're taking it. So for a while I was playing this purely as like an AP boat. It looks like a battleship. It kind of feels like a battleship in a way as well. Kind of feels like a very small Missouri in a way, and it was very tanky. And it took me actually a while to realize that the AP is pretty situational, and it is more of an actually an HE ship compared to what you would kind of think it is. You would think big shells, be able to punish a lot, and it really does from time to time, but you do kind of notice yourself using HE in a lot of situations compared. But when something is giving you a broadside, you can definitely work on stuff. But that is what I was talking about as I shoot HE at a nice wonderful broadside. But you'll see kind of later as I'm going into some other situations of that's that prime, that's that extra bonus that you're going to get out of that expert loader captain, and the premium of what those really are going to be. But one thing is actually really nice on this ship is you can shoot over a ton of islands, which is actually kind of something I noticed. Getting into situations where something is kind of hid behind, I could have still hit that Mosca over that entire island, which is something you really can't do with a lot of other stuff. But I found myself shooting HE a lot, and if something's giving you a broadside, that's when you can punish it with that AP. I think this was when the situation where I was really trying to test just purely HE firing, so you're going to see a decent amount of just HE firing this game, but I was really trying to test out. I was going to see what the AP actually kind of did, and we ended up having a pretty dang epic game. But I mean, just right there, 7,000 salvo on a broadside battleship with just the HE is pretty insane, and actually pretty awesome when you kind of think about it. But one thing that did take me a while to really kind of get used to, though, is I would almost say being very underwhelmed by some of the AP, and it was really with that big caliber shells against battleships. And it just is a weird mix of trajectory and a weird mix of that shell caliber that really either you got some weird plunging fire, you get some weird citadels on battleships, but I found myself using HE almost exclusively against the bigger battleships unless they were giving me a perfect broadside for that kind of upper armor belt. But you just didn't really kind of get what you thought you would in a way of that normal size big shell. So I found myself a lot of HE, AP on broadsides, and then that kind of ended up working a decent amount. But kind of interesting on this map too. Normally, if I was in a radar cruiser, and this is kind of where I say it kind of is a bit more of a Missouri in a way of how you use your radar, because you use it on the big pushes and not so much as like an aggressive start. So as you saw, if I was in a Seattle, I would have gotten much closer to B to be able to support that clap. With this, the cap with this being a more of a bigger ship and a more kind of aggressive ship, or a kind of just a bigger ship in general with a higher detectability, you could see that I didn't really push in for my radar, so I couldn't really support kind of early as I would with maybe like another cruiser. So but here we're missing with both the AP and HE, but really kind of support my Fletcher if I can and help him on to B cap. But I mean, even on the Moscow, a nice little angle one we got. And that one thing too that was kind of weird is you get just the weirdest firing, the weirdest plunging fire hits on this ship, and just it was a very weird ship to get used to, and it kind of grows on you, honestly. I was very harsh on the ship early. I tend to not really find the battle cruiser playstyle very fun, in my opinion. Even with the Kronstadt, I don't really play it that much. With the Stalingrad, I have one. I rarely play it. I just tend to not like that because it does take up a cruiser role. So even though people love to correct me when I say it's a cruiser and say it's a battle cruiser, I do understand that. It still takes up that cruiser role. So in a lot of situations, there's situations where I would have loved to have been in a Rune, or loved to have been into a lot of other tier 9 cruisers. But this is a perfect example of, this is a game that we won purely because I was in the Alaska. It's kind of like this is basically the only ship that could have done what I did. So it kind of highlights that. So the Alaska has definitely grown on me, and I have kind of come to like it a little bit more. And especially when you have a game like this, it makes you like a ship a little bit more. But right now our team is starting to get a little bit wrecked, and we're kind of losing some ships I didn't think we would. But hey, even though the AP change has happened, the Haragumo still gets the old school AP because of its armor size, and boom, there it goes. So nice little 10k salvo, almost 10k on him, and we can get this cap back and kind of get a bit of a control. So as you see right here, we kind of see situations where lots of their other ships are on the A cap, and I'm like, you know what, and me and my div mates, And as we're just dropping ships right now, I'm saying I'll go see. We're down 2 ships right now. We lost 2 big ships, 2 of our tier 10s. And I wanted my DD to go north and start farming those, and I'm going against an Ibuki and a Moskva. So I am telling myself basically, I can go win this fight. I'm not nervous of a Moskva. I'm not nervous of an Ibuki. And I think this is the only ship like this that I felt as comfortable going into this situation as I did. I wouldn't have felt that comfortable going into this situation with the Rune. I wouldn't have felt that comfortable with insert any tier 9, maybe even a Kronstadt. I really wouldn't have. But in the Alaska, I kind of felt almost invincible, saying, well, I know the Moscow is kind of half-life. I don't even know what the Ibuki's at, but I'm not really that nervous. I have tools I can tank against their shells. They're not the big battleship shells that can kind of pick on you. I'll probably take some HE damage, but I'm full life, so big health pool, and you can really just get into, you just feel good kind of doing this. Again, this is a situation that I really only felt comfortable with this one ship. So here comes the Moskva though, and then I think our Fletcher gets kind of picked on. So we have a Moskva, 10 kilometers, so he's focusing on that, and sadly our DD is going to get picked on. They're one radar. Well, I guess they have a Missouri as well, but getting into a situation where he is basically going to be picked on by that long Moscow radar. Didn't think that Moscow would push that aggressively right there. But here we see this Ibuki kind of pushing in, and of course the AP is going to be, it's still going to bounce even with the 305s, but as soon as a ship makes a mistake, you can just take a massive advantage of that. And luckily this Moscow got a little bit aggressive for us, and either one didn't expect me to kind of get into or keep pushing. There we go, we lost our Fletcher, which kind of stinks, and then we lost our Yang, and there's that massive kind of battleship AP, battleship-esque AP that kind of get us some extra damage on that Moscow. So, and this is kind of going as I expected it in a way. I was hoping that Moscow would just kind of YOLO at the start, and we can do that. So Missouri is there to clean up, and here we go. We got 1 cruiser down, and look at how many ships we're down. Just keep an idea of how many ships we're down right now. The only ships we have left are a Kurfürst, a Missouri, a Hindenburg, and me. But really, I'm not nervous about this Ibuki. If I take a torp, I take a torp, but all I need him to do is offer up 1 broadside, and he's basically going to be SOL. And obviously, he's going to try to get his torps on me. Just hit 1 there. And so we'll aim a little bit higher, and he gives us a perfect little broadside right here. So if we get some decent dispersion, we'll be all right. So a couple citadels, and then if we can get that back turret, this is where that buffed expert marksmanship is actually really nice. And luckily he didn't shoot any AP at me, but he's trying to actually set me on fire. But those big old AP shells, and we can then. So this is again I felt no danger pushing into a ship that was a tier higher than me, and I felt no pressure against a tier that was a tier 9 and a tier 10, and I felt like I was going to come out on top, and I did. So that is kind of something that's nice to have. You in a lot of other situations, you get into spots like that where it's, well, I'm going to go trade. That's possibly the best outcome. This I knew, I didn't quite know, but I did feel comfortable enough to go into that, and we basically 2-salvoed that. So that's where that AP is really going to kind of get in and really just wreck. It wrecks cruisers, and that was one thing that was kind of weird, is you would see broadsides on battleships, and you wouldn't quite get the punishment as you would expect. So you tend to shoot HE a lot more, and then really get into a situation where it's like, man, I thought that would citadel that battleship, or it just broke. So you kind of do that more guaranteed, almost like you're shooting against German battleships all the time. And so as you see, we're not right along the waterline, we're a tad higher, and we're going to do just a tad of damage right there. So nice little 10k salvo, and we'll get this cap, and then we'll start pushing. So we were down 4 ships, we're only down 2, but they still have a DD, so that's not very fun. But we do have a radar ship, well, 2, with me in the Missouri, and we can hopefully make it happen. But we're gonna get this cap, get some control, and hopefully kind of get some good trades, and that's all we kind of really need to do, and we can maybe pull this game back. But at one point we were down already 100,000 damage, 5 citadels, 2 kills, and even a little bit of secondary damage. So Missouri's right here too, and I think I even asked our Missouri to radar in a little bit because we just have no vision. Actually, shout out to the Cyclone, and they're starting to cap right now, and there's the Yu Yang. This was pretty clutch by our GK as well. GK actually getting the kill on the Yu Yang, which was huge for us. He got that kill, or the Hinson Yang. Sorry, I thought it was a Yu Yang. So he got that. So I was feeling pretty good. I just didn't know how much life they had, and here they start the cap, so we know something else is there, and get into a spot where he can radar and at least give us some vision on what else is going into this, and really try to go brawl. So, and this is one thing right here is the Alaska is going to be one, you're going to be using both ammos a lot more than you would on most ships. If you're on the Kronstadt, you'd be using a lot more AP because of that trajectory is so nuts. And on a lot of stuff, you would use a lot of HE. On most of the cruisers, you use a lot of HE. This is a really good example of knowing which kind of ammo. So I feel like this is going to be a ship that kind of rewards players that are a bit more skilled. I don't think this is going to be a newer player. I don't think it's going to be, and this is definitely not what you want to see. You don't want to see a Yamato at 7 kilometers full life. This was a tad, I didn't realize it was going so fast. We were a bit behind. I was hoping to just cheek. It's always amazing when you get that big cheek action. But right now, I'm thinking, hey, the best play we can do right now is Edinburgh. Put a shot on him, and then probably ram the Yamato. Kind of sad, but we can do what we can do. And then so we'll put a nice salvo on that, and I think we get even robbed here a little bit. And right now, that dispersion is basically the best you can get with this ship. So that is with the aiming system, and that's not without the AA. And we kind of question ourselves again right here. I'm saying, well, you know what? I'll repair this. Depending on what this salvo is, I'll go for the ram. If not, and there we go. We get a nice little 30K. So I figured that I figured the ram, I think I even was saying in chat right now that was the ram still the best idea. But here we go. Our Missouri got a big hit on him, and we're just going to overmatch with these 305s. Right there, overmatch the guns right into the citadel. And luckily the Yamato just didn't shoot at us, and the Missouri was way off to the side. So this ended up being a pretty dang good trade for us. But they still have the Zao. We didn't quite know where the Zao was, but radar being pretty clutch. And thought about maybe putting the shot on the Yamato, but I figured my Missouri and GK could work on it. And then the Zao was probably the most. I thought I was just going to get blapped right here. Luckily he shot HE. And nice little boom. I mean, see, that's where this AP is really going to shine. So think of it as more about being strong against cruisers and not so much the main primary ammo against battleships like I originally kind of thought it was. Again, took me a while to the ship to kind of grow on me a little bit. And shout out to the Zao just not shooting at me. I was able to get this last salvo out, and we survived that salvo right there. So pretty much a good, I would consider that a pretty damn good trade. And our Hindenburg is going to miss the torps, but from being down 4 ships to now being up by 2, we're about to lose these 2, but the Missouri will go down as well, but our Hindenburg does, and it ended up being a pretty insane. So the replay is all crazy right now, but we'll get to the result screen, and we end up winning that game. So the ship is a tier 9, so it's going to make some insane credits. And I don't even think we had any flags on this or anything, so that's just standard right there. That was, I think, with the win bonus, maybe a couple of flags or something like that. But still, not quite the Missouri, but still, you're gonna have some great credit earning games. Almost 1 million if you deck this out in any kind of flags or whatnot. You could really, really, really stack up the credits. Still not Missouri level, but pretty dang close. And if you're looking for a good overall, just a good cruiser to really play, this will do a good job for you, and then it will help you earn some decent amount of credits. But overall, this ship, it is good. I do enjoy it. I was really tough on this ship at the start, because I tend to not like that battlecruiser playstyle. It's a bit kind of I don't know, it's just not my playstyle, I guess. But this, when you really kind of figured out that you are going to be using both ammos a lot interchangeably instead of just primarily the AP that you think you would, it starts to kind of work itself. You know, you understand the ship a bit more. You will be shooting HE a lot, you will be shooting AP on situations, and you will absolutely punish ships. I mean, 11 citadels this game, 4 kills. We even got the cap and we came back. Again, that is a game we won only, I mean, that's only a play I could have done in that ship alone, being a cruiser. and that just kind of shows the strength of that ship if done correctly. Can really kind of make or break a team. So overall, again, I don't know how this ship will be sold. It's going to be either cold or free XP. My guess is maybe they'll do a free XP. There was a leak a while ago, but I never trust leaks until Wargaming announce it. But I don't know how they will end up doing it. I can only assume either coal or free XP. I wouldn't be surprised if it went free XP, but we'll just have to kind of wait and see. And again, this or the Kronstadt, you have seen the game now. You saw the potential, not only gameplay, but with credit earnings. And that's going to be completely up to you. Remember, the Kronstadt and the Musashi are leaving in 8.0, and we don't exactly have a date when the Alaska is coming into the game, but I would assume it'd be maybe around that time or maybe in the next patch before that. Usually there's a little bit of a crossover. But anyways, that is the review of the currently work in progress Tier 9 USN Cruiser, the Alaska. And overall, it took a while to get used to, but in the end, I do like the ship, and it is actually pretty dang strong. You just gotta learn how to play it correctly. But anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what you are going to do. Are you gonna save up for the Alaska, get the Kronstadt, or you're maybe gonna pass on the ship? I'm interested in what you guys have to say. But anyways, that's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.